If you haven't been paying attention, this is what is happening in Australia, UK, Canada, Germany, Japan, Ireland, France, Poland, Austria. All of these countries right now are having anti-immigrant riots. You see, immigration is not a new concept. It existed long before you and I were born. Europeans moved all over the world. So did Indians and so did Africans. And they brought a piece of the culture with them. However, until 1970s, immigration was fairly balanced. Basically, what I mean by balance is that the amount of people coming in were almost equivalent to the amount of people going out of a country. However, post 1980s, net migration started to increase, meaning that the people entering the country were basically more in quantity than the people leaving. And this was especially happening for the Western countries, of course. Here are charts of the UK and America showing exactly how more and more people started moving to these countries, and well, net migration chose to grow instead of sort of remain steady like it used to. So the question is, what exactly happened? Why did all of these people want to move to these countries? Why didn't they stay in their countries? And why did the net migration increase? Why was no one leaving? Well, you see, what happened was after World War II, all these nations realized that they needed to rebuild. They needed to build up whatever was broken, and they needed workers to be able to do that. Now, many Western countries, they lacked labor, but they did have plenty of money. So what they did was they started importing all these immigrants to do the dirty work for them, which they did not want to do themselves. In the West, traditionally, a lot of people did not want to work from the very beginning. And on top of that, when you look at people from Asia, for instance, they would come in and they would start taking on their jobs. Same for Nigerians, same for Africans. All these people came in and they started working jobs which, well, the Westerners just did not want to do, and hence immigration was born. However, whatever is happening in the world today, this has already happened before. Let me tell you how. In the 1970s, politicians realized that too many immigrants were coming in. And what did they do? They started blaming everything on the immigrants. You don't have a job? It's probably because of the immigrants. Crime rates are high? Well, it's the immigrants. There's a recession? It's the immigrants. No housing? Immigrants are taking up all of your housing. So the immigrants were blamed left and right by the politicians. That's how they actually won many elections, and that's the basis of what happened in 1970s. But the question is, are immigrants really taking up the jobs of the country in which they go? Are they taking up the jobs of the white man, essentially? Because if yes, the unemployment rate should go hand in hand. More immigrants in a country means that unemployment rate should also rise. Now here's a chart for immigration versus unemployment rate for the US between 1970 to 2024. Now, of course, as you can see with the red line, immigration has been continually on the rise. It's been increasing every single year. However, the unemployment rate, it's been rather stable, in fact, even reduced as we move towards 2024. So clearly, it's not the immigrants taking up the American jobs that's riling up the people. America has more jobs than ever. The unemployment rates are at a new low. That means immigrants are not exactly causing the issue. So what exactly happened in 2025? Why is the world suddenly anti-immigrant? I think there's three major reasons to this. Number one is the EU effect. Europe and of course the European Union itself took in a lot of migrants. And what happened was many of these migrants came in to seek asylum. Of course, there's the Ukrainian refugees. That's one kind of people, but also from many other countries within Africa, within many other places all over the world, all these people just shifted to Europe. And they came into Europe, they gained asylum. That's as easy as that. No need to work, free housing, free healthcare, free food, free everything basically for these immigrants. And who was funding them? The taxpayers' money. What that resulted in is a rise in the taxes of European countries, on top of which there was a lack of jobs and a lack of housing. And we'll talk about the lack of jobs in a moment as to why that happens right now. But with that said, the priority over here was being given to migrants and not citizens. So you have to understand, public services and the infrastructure had failed. If you want to get a doctor's appointment, you're not getting it for 2 months, whereas the immigrant who's on asylum, they're getting it before your son, your daughter. And that's something that's riling you up. Crime rates are at a new high, and then you realize that, okay, this sort of a thing happened. There was a in this part of the town, and it was probably done by an immigrant, and you see that it's recorded on the video, and of course that also riles you up. Now that's just one of the reasons. Europe is not all of it, by the way. The second reason is the Trump effect. When all of the world had stable presidents which were a little bit more left, like Biden, Trudeau's party, of course, in Canada, very pro-immigration for the longest time. The moment that Trump came into the picture in the US, things started to change. Rishi Sunak, who was again excellent, was removed in the UK. And then slowly and slowly, as you see, all the world leaders started becoming people who are more and more right-wing and more anti-immigration as well. We all know what President Trump's views are on immigration. Even Elon Musk, by the way, he's almost like the chief minister of remigration, sending people back from where they're coming from. Every day or the other, he's talking about how immigrants are causing issues, and these countries, which are not even his own countries, like countries like the UK, for instance, need to take a stance, fight back. And of course, given the fact that US is now less immigrant friendly, well, as it used to be, of course, in Biden's time, also sort of started to wash up on the rest of the world, and they realize, hey, if these people are standing up against immigrants, why not us? We need to put our people first as well, just like America says America first. Now, the only difference between America and all of these European states and Australia is that, well, American states are having politicians who are saying this, whereas other states within Europe, Australia, they don't have at least politicians saying it so much, and the public is now starting to take a stance. And then the third and final factor, the AI factor, let's not disregard that. Whether you work in a small company or a big company, I know for a fact that the AI revolution has hit your organization. Jobs that needed very complex positions, people used to work on it, whole departments used to work on it. Now they are being handled by just one or two people simply because AI has come in and taken over quite a lot of that work. And of course, given that this is at a fraction of the cost, there is always going to be lesser number of jobs. Maybe there are more jobs for people who develop this AI, but lesser jobs for people who used to do these clerical tasks. AI doesn't make mistake. It's easy to work with and it easily replaces you in that aspect. So of course, that's why you're seeing a bit of a lack of jobs. And what do people look at? If you look at the natives, they're of course going to look at, hey, how do we get our jobs back? Where are all the jobs? Where did they go? Well, AI took some, but the rest of them, well, the next best thing is immigrants. They're taking away the jobs. So let us get those ones back at least, because AI ones we can't get back, that's for sure. So what's in the future for immigration? I feel like after these 3 points, I think you would understand that immigration is going to get harder. As immigration was easier and easier and more countries demanded workers between 1970s to now almost the 2020s, well, the things are going to shift in the opposite direction. I feel like if you want to immigrate in 2025 or further, the only way to immigrate is talent-based immigration, which is basically where you fulfill the exact needs of a particular government of a particular state, and you go over there and you start working for that particular country. On this very channel, by the way, I have made videos on Australia National Innovation Visa, UK Global Talent Visa, US O1 Visa, US EB1 Green Card, US EB2 NIW, Singapore One Pass. All of these are pathways that help you settle overseas, work overseas, and even get permanent residency in these countries, but with the help of talent. So you know that you're extraordinary and you're not going anywhere just because you're taking someone else's job. Answer is that you're not taking anyone's job. You're basically taking those jobs which the people in the country are not able to fulfill already because they lack that talent. Since you've watched the video till here, I have a bonus for you. I'm going to give you a free eligibility check. If you have a resume or a LinkedIn page, all you have to do is go on to YMGrad.com, send me one of those things, anyone, resume or your LinkedIn, and message me. Let me know which country are you targeting out of all the countries that I've mentioned. That's US, Australia, UK, Singapore, or even the UAE, by the way. And you may be eligible to actually go ahead, work in one of these countries with the help of talent. You might already qualify. I'm going to give you a free eligibility check, a free evaluation in my own voice, and I'll let you know whether you qualify or you need to do this, and then you qualify. But that's the video on why the world hates immigrants now. Share this with the people who need to know. You can find me on Instagram as well, where I make similar content, a lot of it in Hindi over there, by the way, so make sure you follow me there. Subscribe to the channel if you like the video, and you can connect with my team on WhatsApp. The number is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and take care. Until the next one.